Hi there, my name's Jolene, and yeah, the title's real. My husband divorced me by email while I was deployed overseas. And as if that wasn't enough, he drained our joint account and moved his new girlfriend into my house. My dog still listens to her, but that was just the start. Forged signatures, secret sales, fake mortgage papers, FBI files, and the worst part? It wasn't just betrayal, it was a plan, and I never saw it coming. So, how do you fight back when you're 7,000 miles away in uniform, and everything you built is being stolen? I wasn't expecting anything. Just another quiet end to a long, hot day in Zarqa. Dust in my boots, static in the air, and sand clinging to my skin like regret. I dropped onto my bunk with that dull ache behind my eyes that comes from too much thinking and not enough sleep. Out of habit, I reached for my tablet, flicked on the base Wi-Fi, and checked my inbox. The subject line stopped me cold. Let's be adults about this. I didn't even click at first. My finger hovered. Some part of me knew. When I opened it, there were only 3 sentences. I've filed for divorce. Melina's moved in. I've moved our joint savings. Less confusion this way. No greeting, no explanation, just a casual death sentence for a 13-year marriage. I stared. I reread. Then again. My chest didn't tighten. It froze. My pulse didn't race. It just stopped caring. I closed the email, locked the screen, and sat very still. The room hummed around me, muffled voices, a faint clang from the mess hall, the low whir of fans. But it all faded. I was suddenly underwater. I grabbed a towel and headed to the communal showers. The cold water stung, but I barely felt it. Afterward, I dressed without rushing, without trembling, without a word. Pierce, my bunkmate, glanced up from his paperback. "You all right?" he asked, like it was just another bad comms report. "Just family stuff," I said. He nodded. "In the Army, we don't press. We observe. We file it away." Later that night, after my shift, I opened our bank app. $22.37. It felt like I'd been slapped. No, dissected. Methodical cuts done slowly while I was thousands of miles away, focused on defending a country that wouldn't defend me back. I scrolled through the transaction history. There it was. Small withdrawals at first, sneaky, then $4,000, then $9,800, then 3 separate ones over $15,000, all spaced perfectly to avoid triggering alerts. Melina's name showed up as a memo on 2 of them. She didn't just move in, she'd been moving in, piece by piece. And I hadn't seen it coming. The final transfer? The day after I left the country. I didn't scream, I didn't call, I didn't throw anything. I watched the numbers vanish like smoke. I sat in my bunk, surrounded by olive drab blankets and the smell of iron and dust, and I made a list. And then I whispered to myself, "All right, Kurt, you just started a war." I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying, tears are a luxury out here, but because my brain wouldn't shut off. Around 0400, while the rest of the barracks drifted into light snores and rustling sheets, I logged into our home security app. It was a system I'd installed myself, quietly, after one too many weird deliveries when I was overseas last time. Kurt thought I was paranoid. Maybe I was. I tapped into the live feed, expecting an empty house, maybe a glimpse of the backyard maple. What I saw was a stranger making coffee in my kitchen. She was wearing my army fleece, the one with the patch I never let Kurt wash. Her blonde hair was tied up in a loose bun, and she moved around the space like she owned it, like I never existed. Then she turned toward the sink, my mug, the black one from my first tour. I recognized the chip on the handle. She laughed into her phone and I heard her say, "I told Kurt this place would look even better once I get the curtains changed." She was redecorating my house. I tapped to rewind the feed. A few hours earlier, she'd walked Maple, my dog, my best friend in every lonely PCS move. Maple wagged her tail and obeyed like nothing had changed. The door closed behind them. And that's when I noticed it. My wedding picture was gone from the entryway shelf. In its place was some dried eucalyptus in a tacky glass vase. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I watched that woman pour creamer into my coffee mug and lean against the counter. I sanded myself. Then I backed out of the app, opened notes, and started typing. Melina Croft, curtains, fleece jacket. Maple obeys her. Mug, Tour patch, wedding photo gone, $72,000 withdrawn. At the top of the list, I typed one word: retribution. He didn't just replace me, he erased me, and she made it look easy. But I'm not gone, I'm not broken, and I'm sure as hell not done. By the next night, after my second consecutive graveyard shift, I sat on the concrete step outside the barracks, letting the desert breeze dry the sweat on the back of my neck. My list was growing, not just with facts, dates, names, transactions, but with memories I'd buried too deep for too long. Things that made sense now in ways they hadn't before. It started with dinner 3 months before deployment. We were at a steakhouse in Lexington. Kurt's favorite place, not mine. Melina tagged along, supposedly just a friend from work. She laughed a little too loud at his dry jokes. Asked me how much equity we had in the house. Said things like, "If I were you, I'd rent it out. Sitting on money like that makes no sense." At the time, I thought she was clueless. Now I think she was casing it. I told Kurt later that night it felt weird, her being there, her questions. He brushed it off with that lazy grin. "You're always reading into stuff," he said. "She's just friendly. Don't be that wife." I wanted to believe him, so I did. Then there was the password. 3 weeks before my flight, I tried logging into our bank account. Got locked out. He texted, "Changed it for security. Don't want anything compromised while you're gone." I didn't even blink. Just said, "Cool. Can you send me the new one?" He did. And now I wonder, was that the real one or just a decoy? Did he keep the real one for himself and feed me a sandbox version? I keep replaying that night too, the night I packed my duffel. I caught him staring at the papers on our dining table, title deed, mortgage forms, all neatly stacked from the VA refinance talk we never finished. I asked, "What's that?" He said, "Just sorting old stuff. You worry about staying safe over there." That's how he played me. Deflect. Distract. Keep me looking at the smoke while he worked behind the curtain. I let it happen. And now I was done doing that. I didn't wait for the anger to fade. I let it sharpen. It carried me across the concrete lot, past rows of armored trucks, into the comms tent where the Wi-Fi signal was strong and nobody asked questions. The only thing louder than the hum of the server rack was the sound of my heart narrowing into purpose. I pulled up my cloud drive, one I never told Kurt about. Every important file we'd scanned together, mortgage papers, Virginia loan documents, insurance forms, it was all there. I scrolled until I found the mortgage update from 8 months ago, the one Kurt said was, "Just a refinance inquiry." The signature stared back at me. My name was there, but the stroke on the J wasn't mine. The middle initial was wrong. I stared for a moment, then opened my driver's license and compared. No match. I took a screenshot and texted it to Seth Vaughn, an old Army contact turned civilian attorney in Bowling Green. He responded almost instantly. "That's forged, no question. You ready to go official?" I didn't answer right away. I scrolled down the document and saw something even worse. Melina was listed as co-applicant. Her name, on my home. That was the last push I needed. Seth and I connected on a secure call. His voice was steady, controlled. "You've got leverage now, Jolene. A forged federal document with a VA loan attached? That's criminal. If we move now, we control the board." I sent him every file, every screenshot. He told me he'd reach out to the county records office, the lender, and the VA fraud division. My job? Document everything and stay quiet. After hanging up, I opened a new file. My checklist. Call VA loan fraud line. Report forged refinance. Document Melina's residency and access to the property. Track withdrawals. Secure title and pension statements. Then I remembered something from a few weeks before I deployed. Kurt had pushed hard for us to sell the house. "Why are we sitting on this equity?" he'd said. "We're always moving anyway." He made it sound like a financial strategy. But now I saw it for what it was. Preparation. Clearing the path before the strike. I finished my checklist and sent it to Seth. Minutes later, he texted one word back. "Confirmed." The message from Seth still glowed on my screen. One word, confirmed, and yet it cracked the silence inside my chest wide open. I took a breath, deep and cold, and pushed away from the desk in the comms tent. Outside, the night air had turned sharp. I needed the sting. It kept me focused. I came back 20 minutes later with a cup of burned coffee and a mind running like a recon drone. My laptop was already on. I logged into the home security feed again. Habit now. But what I saw this time wasn't just a gut punch. It was war. A new face. Mid-50s, balding, business casual khakis, clipboard in hand. He moved through my kitchen like it was an open house. He ran his fingers across the granite countertops, nodded approvingly at the hardwood I refinished myself. And then, there they were. Kurt, Melina. He said her name. Ray, Kurt began. We'd like to move fast. List it by Friday. Cash preferred. She's not going to contest. She's stationed overseas. She, not Jolene. I didn't exist. Just an inconvenient detail they planned around. Ray nodded. Shouldn't be a problem. I'll get the ball rolling. They laughed, as if they hadn't gutted 13 years of my life and left the bones behind. I hit record. No rage, no yelling, just record, save, and upload to my drive. Then I forwarded the entire clip to Seth. He didn't need context. The image of my husband planning to sell the house behind my back with his mistress in tow said enough. I opened a blank message, typed slowly. I see everything. Stop now. Then I stared at it for 5 long minutes and closed the window without sending. Let him feel safe. Let him get comfortable. Rats don't flee until they smell smoke. Later that night, I pulled out my journal. The one I kept zipped in my deployment locker, buried under backup socks and MRE protein bars. I flipped to a clean page and wrote, Next time I see them talk about my house, they'll be in handcuffs. Not hope, not revenge, just logistics. By sunrise, I was done writing warnings. The sky outside the comms tent was pale orange, sand and cloud blending into one long stretch of silence. I hadn't slept, but I didn't need rest. I needed justice, and I was done waiting for permission. At 0600, I used the satellite line to call Seth. No pleasantries this time, just purpose. I said, It's time, and he didn't hesitate. He patched me through to someone else, a voice I didn't recognize. Agent Torres, the man said. His tone was flat, clipped, FBI kind of clipped. I introduced myself, gave my military ID, laid out the situation. I spoke clean, tight, and without 1 ounce of emotion. Documents, forgery, recorded footage, the unauthorized refinance, the listing conversation. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, Torres said simply, Miss Ray, what you're describing is not just marital betrayal. It's wire fraud, identity theft, and potentially a conspiracy to defraud a federal loan program. I stayed quiet. Do you want to press formal charges? He asked. I didn't blink. Yes. The silence between us held weight. Then he added, Good, because we've been looking into Ray Kincaid already. Your case may tie some things together. Seth called me back 20 minutes later with a secure link. We filed the paperwork, every accusation under my name, time-stamped and verified. I signed the digital complaint and submitted 3 notarized statements. One from me, one from our financial institution, and one from our loan officer who confirmed I'd never approved anything. After that, I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt cold, sharp. I uploaded the entire evidence package to an encrypted folder and forwarded the link to 3 places: my attorney's vault, the VA fraud unit, and a secure contact at my bank's legal division. Then I logged back into the house security feed. I hit record. Let them smile. Let them pose and pretend. The fuse had been lit, and if they were smart, they'd stop now. By the end of the 2nd week, I wasn't in Jordan anymore. I was stepping off a connecting flight into the quiet gray of a Kentucky morning, landing in Louisville under a different name. It was one of those old Army tricks. Fake IDs, borrowed names, burner phones, things we rarely needed inside the States. But this time was different. This time, the rules didn't apply. I didn't call anyone, didn't go home. I picked up a rental car using my middle name and drove east until the city gave way to long stretches of silence and open road. I ended up in a worn-out motel just outside Lexington, the kind of place where nobody asks questions, and the front desk clerk barely looks up. I checked in, pulled the curtains tight, and waited. Morning came too fast. My phone buzzed just after 7. It was Torres. You sitting down? He asked. I'm listening, I said. He exhaled like he'd been holding something in. Melina got pulled over last night. Expired tags, in your truck. I closed my eyes. Of course it was the truck. She had 2 stolen prescription pads in the glove box, he went on. Both traced back to that dental clinic she worked at last year. You know who just filed a report last month? Same clinic. Missing pads, suspected fraud. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. That's felony drug fraud right there, Torres added. And that's before we get to the mortgage scheme. She's tangled up in all of it. It's starting to come apart. I hung up without another word. Just sat there for a minute, hands resting steady on the wheel of the rental, parked 3 blocks from my own house. Funny, not even a tremble. The part of me that used to react was long gone. I opened the camera app and brought the live feed back up. I'd rigged the house with surveillance the day before I left. Tiny cameras tucked into vents, a mic hidden behind the mantelpiece, a backup feed uploading to the cloud every 12 hours. Old habits. Right on cue, Ray Kincaid strutted through the front door like it belonged to him. Again, this time with a briefcase. He didn't even hesitate. Just walked in like he'd done it 100 times. Kurt was right behind him, loud, careless, arms flailing like a man who thinks no one's watching, like nothing could touch him. I texted Torres. Live visual feed, primary residence, suspects on site, unauthorized entry. 27 minutes later, the cavalry arrived. 3 unmarked SUVs rolled up the street in perfect silence. No sirens, no lights, just clean, practiced execution. Men in FBI windbreakers stepped out like ghosts materializing from the morning fog. Ray was the first out in cuffs, calm at first, then confused when he realized this wasn't some misunderstanding. Then came Kurt, mouth running, still trying to talk his way out of it, loud as ever, still thinking he could bluff his way free. But Melina made it personal. They pulled her out of the house in handcuffs, screaming my name like it was a curse. "You set me up! You crazy military bitch! This was you!" She fought the agents like they were the enemy, as if I had betrayed her, as if she was the one who got ambushed. I watched from down the street, sitting behind tinted glass. My face didn't move. I didn't smile. I didn't blink. Some people think karma takes its time. They think it knocks first, gives you a warning. It doesn't. Sometimes it breaks down the door. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the sun crack open over Lexington from the motel parking lot, arms folded across the wheel, the weight of justice just starting to settle. But I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. By mid-morning, I was sitting in the FBI field office, the same room where they took my initial statement. Agent Torres slid a manila folder across the table. "Thought you'd want to see this." Inside were court documents from Nebraska. Melina Cross, real name, had a sealed conviction for embezzlement from a dental clinic in 2017. Same playbook, fake identity, fake invoices, 5-figure theft. The name change came after. "She's been doing this longer than you've known her," Torres said. I didn't respond at first, just stared at the words like they were written in fire. "She wasn't just an affair," I finally muttered. "She's a professional." "She's a predator," Torres corrected. And he was right. That afternoon, I sat across from Agent Brogan for my final recorded interview. They were wrapping up indictments, and the web had grown. 3 other military families, Brogan told me. Same scheme. Deploy the spouse, steal everything, vanish. They asked if I would testify. "Gladly," I said. The next morning in court, Seth met me outside. He handed me a file. My file, the one we'd built piece by piece. I didn't even open it. I didn't need to. Inside the courtroom, Kurt shuffled in, still wearing county orange. No smirk, no swagger. Just sagging shoulders and a face that finally realized the storm had arrived. His accounts? Frozen. His pension? Locked in litigation? The house? Under federal seizure? He glanced at me once. I didn't flinch. I didn't smile. I didn't say a word. The gavel dropped. I stood and walked out, letting the weight slide off my spine like armor unstrapped after battle. Not happy, not healed, but whole. I left the courthouse and never looked back. 6 months later, I live where the road turns to gravel and the air smells like pine needles and wet earth. 10 acres, 1 cabin, and no gate. Just me and Maple. I built a garden with my own hands, carved rows through the soil, planted tomatoes and beets, fixed up an old rain barrel. I chop wood for heat and brew coffee over a stove that makes the whole place smell like burnt cinnamon. My furniture doesn't match. My couch creaks when I sit, but it's mine, every bit of it. At night, Maple curls up by the door. I sleep soundly, no locks, no alarms, just peace loud enough to drown out the past. One morning, I checked the mailbox at the edge of the dirt road. Among the usual junk was a letter with no return address. Inside, handwritten on lined paper, "You don't know me, but I'm a military spouse in Fort Worth. My husband and I almost lost everything until we read about your case. Because of you, we fought back. We're still in our home. Thank you." I read it twice, then pinned it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like Texas. I didn't cry. I didn't need to. I just stood there, barefoot on my cabin floor, breathing in the quiet. Melina's in prison. 5 years, no parole. Kurt? Last I heard, he's fighting for scraps in court, living in a studio apartment his name's not even on. I don't track it, I don't care. What I built wasn't revenge, it wasn't punishment, it was freedom. And I earned every inch of it. Some people rebuild to prove something. I rebuilt to feel nothing. Before we end, let me leave you with this. If there's anything I learned from this entire ordeal, it's this. You can lose everything and still have something worth fighting for. Your voice, your dignity, your truth. People may take your money, your home, your peace, but they only keep it if you let them. I used to believe strength meant silence, taking the hit and walking it off. But now I know real strength is standing up, even if your knees shake. It's gathering the facts, holding your line, and letting justice do what it was designed to do. To anyone out there rebuilding after betrayal, whether it's a spouse, a system, or something you once called home, let this be your reminder. You are not powerless, you are not invisible, and you are never too late to take your life back. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever trusted someone, only to discover their whole story was a lie? What would you have done if you were in my boots? If this video moved you or reminded you of someone, leave a 1 in the comments, or just tell me what city you're watching from. And if you didn't like it, I still want to hear from you. Tell me why and where in the world you are watching from. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more real stories that dig deep and speak truth. Your support helps these voices, and mine, keep going. Thanks for riding this journey with me. Stay sharp, stay true, and always remember, peace isn't given, it's built.